Hello, I'm Tammy Beilstein. This week on Highway 49, we explore Calaveras County. Located 100 miles east of San Francisco, Calaveras, which means skull in Spanish, is the most famous county the 49 highway passes through. Mark Twain in 1865 reworked a tale he'd heard in the California goldfields, and within months the author and the story, the celebrated jumping frog of Calaveras County, had become national sensations. And in 1883, the notorious bandit Black Bart was apprehended and put on trial here. Today, Calaveras County is home to PAWS, the Performing Animal Welfare Society's ARC 2000 Wildlife Sanctuary, and New Melones Lake, the fifth largest reservoir in the state of California. Most of the small towns in Calaveras County aren't famous, but are full of gold rush history. And today, one of these historical towns, Mokelumne Hill, is our first stop on Highway 49. The first thing you'll notice when turning onto historic 49 in Mokelumne Hill is just how peaceful and quiet it is here, only a half block from the main highway. With a population of only 800, Mokelumne Hill has got to be one of the most tranquil little towns you'll find anywhere in California today. In the middle of town, it's obvious from the numerous buildings remaining from the 1800s that this is a town full of history. The local residents are really proud of their gold rush history, and today we are really proud to have Julia Costello with us. She is from the Mokelumne Hill Historical Society, correct?
Yes.
Good, I got it right.
Very good.
I'm so glad you're here. What can you tell us about Mokelumne Hill?
Well, welcome to Mokelumne Hill.
Thanks.
And since we're bypassed by Highway 49, we like it when people turn off and come into our historic town.
Sure.
And this was, as the locals like to point out, the county seat from 1852 to 1863.
Oh, it was.
And so we have, in the early years, this was one of the largest towns in the Motherlode, and on those early maps, Mokelumne Hill is always featured on, early maps of the Gold Rush country, and now, it's a little spot that people drive by.
Oh, it is adorable. I love it here. Love it.
That's wonderful. But we have our famous landmarks in town, and the Hotel Leger is really the heart of town, and it's one of the oldest establishments still running. It was a tent Hotel de France back in the 1850s, and then George Leger got involved in 1853, and it grew over the years to incorporate the old courthouse, and it's still the heart of town. The locals gather there, and that's where you have weddings and receptions and birthday parties and just hanging out with friends and drinking.
You know what, speaking of names, and I don't mean any offense at all, but the word Mokelumne is odd. Is that someone's name, or does that mean something? Where did that come from?
It's an Indian word.
Oh, okay.
And so like Tuolumne. It's the same ending. Tuolumne County,
right.
The umne ending means people of.
Okay.
And so when the early explorers came, they were traveling with the Yokuts, who were down in the Central Valley, and they would ask the Yokuts, what are the name of the people that live up there? So actually it's a Yokut name for the people who lived here. So Tuolumne was the people on the Tuol, and the Mokelumne were the people on the Mokul, on the Mokul.
Mokul, okay.
I mean, I'm simplifying it a bit, but that's essentially how it got its name.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's mispronounced worldwide, so we can distinguish a local from not if they stumble over Mokelumne.
Some people just shorten to Moke.
So everybody practice that. Yeah.
Well, gosh, is there someplace special you want to take us or tell us about? There are so many neat buildings here in this town.
Well, while we're standing here, we could look at the courthouse. That's one of our oldest.
Where is that?
It's right across the street here.
Okay. Is it the blue or the?
No, it's actually looks like part of the Hotel Leger. So there's the long uniform color, but if you look at the top roof line, you can see that the cornice is different and that the window toppings are different, and we have the iron doors in the bottom. So that 3 openings on the bottom, 3 on the top, that is the old courthouse. Dates to 1854. Stone building. Mokelumne had fires like most of the gold rush towns, and the first really devastating fire was in 1854, and all of the wood buildings burned down, and tents, virtually all of them. But the town has a wonderful rhyolite quarry nearby. Rhyolite's that wonderful stone that you can cut easily. Angels Camp has a nice quarries there, and they have rhyolite. But Mokelumne Hill had a quarry. So after the 1854 fire, we had all these stone buildings coming up because merchants said, it's a going town, I want my business here, but I don't want it to burn down every few years. So we have all these stone buildings, and that's one of them that dates to just after the 1854 fire. So we're walking along this group of storefronts that really hasn't changed much in over 100 years.
Yeah.
And they were built, of course, by people who had something particular in mind, but they became over the years grocery stores or bars or shops or incorporated, and so their stories changed. You can't just say it was always
one thing.
Always
Yeah.
one thing. We have about 5 locations of Wells Fargo in town, but people like to say, this is the Wells Fargo building, and you go, well, it was for 5 years or 3 years or something.
This is a neat building.
This is great. This is one of the earliest buildings, 1854. We talked about how after the fire, the rhyolite, they were built out of
Yeah.
rhyolite. So here you have the stones that were quarried just outside of
cool.
town, and they peck the surface like this. See these little peck marks?
Why did they do that?
To make a texture for the plaster to hold on to.
Oh, okay.
And modern houses do that now too, a
Yeah.
rip wrapping or texturing so that the plaster can grip onto it. So this once would have been covered with plaster, but nowadays we like to see our stone underneath.
I like it like this.
I know.
I love it. And the big doors and windows. It's
And
what a
iron
neat
shutters,
place.
and again, that was against the fires, against
Oh, yeah.
theft, but mostly against fires. And often the high ceilings, you have, of course, the high ceilings and a wooden ceiling, and then the space above it would be filled with 1 or 2 feet of dirt. And over that
Really?
would be the roof. So if fire went from roof to roof, the dirt would not let it spread down in the building. It was the early insulation.
Oh, how smart.
And fireproofing. And
Yeah.
available and inexpensive.
Find it anywhere.
Find it anywhere.
Oh, that's neat. Do you know what this building was?
This was a grocery store. There were 3 buildings. There's a wonderful old lithograph that shows these 2 buildings and then an arch in between. And so this was the southern of the 2 buildings, and it had a store. I think it was the Hodop store. And then in the middle building was the butcher shop, Gebhardt.
Oh, neat.
And then the building on the right, I forget, but they were kind of entrepreneurs got together and they made a little group, and they built this whole facade, but it survived well up until now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Mokelumne Hill has 2 main streets in town, Main and Center. And we're walking toward the intersection of Center and Main, which
Okay.
is the heart of town. And this, of course, is one of the most looked at and photographed buildings in town, and it's known as the IOOF Hall.
IOF?
IOOF, the International Order of Odd Fellows.
Okay.
And this was a very popular fraternal organization back in the 1850s and 60s and 70s, and many towns have an IOOF hall. And the building itself, 2 stories of it were built by 1854 after the fire, the same rhyolite building. And then the Odd Fellows purchased the building and added the 3rd floor
Golly.
because they always had to have their room where they had their ceremonies high enough above the town so nobody could see in the windows. Who knows what
doing in
secret
there?
things? We don't know. We don't know. But odd
the
things
neat
went on.
place. And what is this now?
Well, it's owned by Randy Sparks of the New Christie Minstrels.
I love Randy.
I know. He's a wonderful asset to the town.
Oh,
He's just
God.
great. He gives fundraisers to raise money for our town hall and writes songs about Mokelumne Hill and the buzzards and
Oh,
all of the characters up
awesome.
here. But he mostly, there was a wonderful bar, Adams and Company, which was operated downstairs for about 30 years. His wife Diane operated that. But now it mostly stores his treasures that he's collected from all over the country.
Oh, I would love to see those.
Oh, well, you talk to him. He'll probably let you in.
Does he open it up and let the public come inside, or not anymore?
No.
Not anymore.
No, the bar, of course, was open to the public, but
Yeah.
it's just one little room. But the rest of it, no, it's just his private place.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so neat. You know what's neat to me is that out of any place in the world he could live, or other famous or wealthy people that are from Calaveras County, that they choose here to live. They could live anywhere, but they choose little towns like Mokelumne or San Andreas. It's just really neat.
Maybe if they're in the limelight so much, they want a place where it feels small and intimate and
Maybe,
close
yeah.
and quiet, and a
Yeah.
place to retreat to and not out of the hustle and bustle of
Yeah.
the entertainment world.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, I am so glad he's here. Julia, where are we now? What is
We're
this?
walking up Center Street toward the intersection of Center and Main, our downtown, and we're walking in front of the Sturgis built built of rhyolite after the 1854 fire, like so many of our buildings.
I love the feel of it.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
And you can see all the cut marks. This has some really nice detailing.
It does.
See around
It
the
does.
edges. And it has the name of the building carved on the side.
Oh, it's neat.
But
It's almost like it has little thumbprints for the decoration in part of it. But go ahead. Yeah.
But it used to be a two-story building. And so
Okay.
it was, and then there was a fire in the 20th century, in the 1940s or 50s, I forget, and they took the top story off and rebuilt it next to it as a one-story building. So it looks today as though you've got these two old, hand-cut rhyolite buildings,
Yeah.
when actually it's the same building just set down next to itself.
That with all the same stones,
Same
and rocks
stones.
and everything. You just rebuilt next door.
Rebuilt next door.
Connected.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
That's how we make more historic buildings out of one.
You double them that way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. Well, we are back under the Hotel Leger sign.
If it were open, we could go in and have a drink.
Oh, that would be great. I know they have a beautiful bar in there and the
And it's very comfortable.
rooms and everything. I love
Yes.
it. I cannot thank you enough.
I am so
for
glad
the
you
tour.
came, and come back anytime. We will
I'd
throw
love
open
to.
our doors and entertain you.
I would love to. Are you available to give tours if an out-of-town person stopped in Mokelumne Hill and wanted to get a little bit of history from someone? What do you...
Well, they could ask anyone
Anyone.
in town. And actually, that little book I've been carrying around, our telephone book, Mokelumne Hill has its own phone book,
Oh,
for the town.
that little thing?
And in it is it's maps and all our historic buildings and a description of them. And so with the
Really?
phone book, everybody in town is a tour guide.
So come on by and get a phone book.
At the library.
At
You can
the
buy them at the library.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
is awesome. Mwah. Thanks a ton.
Come back.
I will.